Sara's Weeknight Meals is made possible by USA Rice, Sunsweet, Ninja, Chef's Choice, and thanks to the generous support of
the 2016 Subaru Legacy. With symmetrical all-wheel drive plus 36 mpg. It pairs well with every kind of road. Subaru, proud sponsor of Sara's Weeknight Meals.
Charleston, known for the reinvention of traditional Southern cuisine, has one of the hottest food scenes in America.
Why do people flock to this big shack?
That's where the magic comes from.
It's because the secret's out. Martha Lou's Kitchen makes some of the tastiest fried chicken in the country.
We'll fry her unbelievably crispy chicken and make a soul food side dish that her customers love, steamy cabbage and ham.
Madam would catch the chicken and wring them by neck, because we had what you call the yad chicken.
This is Gullah country, home to a rich African-American culture that flourished on the coastal islands.
They would go out fishing and crabbing and oyster.
So you would just come out and forage?
I mean, that's how the culture was, lived off the land and off the sea.
Discover the African roots of well-loved Southern foods. Back in my kitchen, I'll make my version of a Southern favorite, red beans and rice soup. And on Ask Sara,
I'm trying to make chicken Milanese, and you start to pound the chicken. It starts to come apart.
get shreds. Okay, I have an answer for you. It doesn't look like much, but inside this little pink building is fried chicken Nirvana. Martha Lou Gadsden has been serving up roll your eyes, it's so good soul food to the people of Charleston for 30 years. It's a family affair. Her daughter Deborah serves.
How y'all doing today?
And her granddaughter Melanie Alston handles the catering. The big draw here is the fried chicken. It's getting a national reputation, so I stopped in to find out what the buzz is all about. I want to know where the chicken recipe comes from.
The chicken recipe actually comes from Martha Lou's mother.
So your great-grandmother.
My great-grandmother.
Okay.
Yes.
And what do you think makes it so special?
The spices.
So you use a famous spice, and it's available nationally.
It is.
But we have to also give a homemade recipe. So you got sugar, salt, paprika, turmeric. I thought that was an interesting one.
Yeah.
Probably gives it color. Onion powder, garlic powder, of course, and cornstarch.
Right.
Fascinating. All right, so you're going to tell me how much of each one of these we want.
Okay.
And you don't measure this, you eyeball this.
We just eyeball it.
Oh boy, I hope you're paying attention then. This is the sort of thing when people are trying to make recipes from their grandmother, and she's like, yeah, just that much.
Yeah,
and you're
you
like,
just
how
gotta
much?
shake.
You're like, no, that much.
Yeah.
Okay, so ready?
Right.
Okay, say when.
Oh, when?
We're now adding garlic salt.
Garlic salt, right.
Okay. You say when again.
Okay. Looks good. When?
Oh, when? Okay.
Right.
Oh, I'm a natural.
Yeah.
Woo! I'm
Pretty
figuring
good
it
at
out.
this stuff.
I
Are you
am.
sure?
I'm a chef, yes. Okay, and then pepper.
Pepper.
There's some heat in this.
Yeah. Just a little bit of pepper. All right, that's enough.
Okay, good.
Okay,
And so
looks
now
good.
I can stir that up. Okay, so we got our spice mix. Now, you marinate the chicken overnight, right?
Overnight,
So
correct.
should we get our chicken marinating? I know you've already got a swap, but we'll get the... So we're going to do both white meat and dark meat. And what I can't believe is you cook this stuff to order.
To order every day.
So somebody orders fried chicken and then they
Cook
start...
it to order, and it's fresh out of the fryer.
Yeah, fresh out of the fryer.
Fresh out of the fryer. Okay, so what you're gonna do is take, and you're doing, okay. Mix it around like that.
But you want to coat all sides of it.
You do.
I noticed you're getting under the bones
Yes.
a little bit.
You want to kind of rub it in there.
This is like brining.
Yeah. it
Yeah,
is,
because
yes.
it's like a dry brine, we call
Yes.
it. Because you've got salt in there.
Yes.
So the salt is not only going to season it, but it's going to pull in all the other seasonings, and it's going to also make it much juicier.
Correct.
Wow. But you've been doing this for generations.
Forever.
Yeah.
She's been open for like 32 years now. So now we take some wrap, and you're just gonna wrap this up like so. And then you're gonna put it in the refrigerator overnight.
So 24 hours?
24 hours.
And that's where all the brining magic happens.
Yeah, that's where the magic comes from. And we have some already marinated that's been in the refrigerator for 24 hours.
Okay.
We're gonna take a bowl of water, and then you're gonna add just maybe like a tablespoon of milk. Once again, I do 3/4, so
Yeah,
we're gonna do
3/4,
like.
the
And you don't want to add too much milk because it'll make your oil smoky.
Oh,
so you just want to
okay.
add just like maybe a little dash of it.
Okay.
It gives it that extra crunch, that crispiness, and it keeps it nice and moist. So we have some self-rising flour.
Self-rising flour. Now tell me why that.
Because it's like, it gives it that nice crunchy and...
So it's got baking powder in it.
Right.
So the idea is that it leavens when it
Correct.
hits the hot oil.
Right.
Brilliant. And you don't have to mix it yourself. It's
You don't
already
have to
mixed.
mix, it's already done.
Okay.
So what we do is, we dip the chicken, we put it in the flour, get nice, and then we dip it in the milk.
Oh, flour first.
Flour first, and then flour, milk, and then back to the flour.
So that sort of double coats it.
Right.
Okay, so now it's time to fry. So we'll take
time
this
to
over.
fry.
And you've got the fry later.
The fry is on, we have it at 350.
Okay, good.
And we're frying it in some peanut oil.
Okay, peanut oil, which
peanut
has
oil
a
is
very high smoke point, so it doesn't
Right,
catch fire.
right.
Okay, good. All right, so let's go on over there.
Okay. The dark meat, we're going to cook that for 20 minutes, and
Yeah.
then the white meat is 15 minutes.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
I just want to say one thing really important. You notice how she put that in there? She didn't hold it up here and drop it in. Just put it right next to the oil.
Right.
Yeah, because you don't want to be wearing it.
Yeah, you want to keep it as close to the grease as possible.
Not everybody has one of these at home.
Right.
How would you do this at home?
Well, I love a turkey fryer.
Oh, turkey fryer. Of course,
I
she has
love
a
it.
turkey. Do
Yeah,
I have a turkey
it's the
fryer? No,
best.
I don't have a turkey.
Yeah.
So a stock pot?
Yes, it
So
is.
maybe with about like that much oil?
Yeah, you want to,
And use
correct.
a deep fat thermometer. With a turkey fryer, you have that built
Right,
in.
correct.
But I would use a deep, and 350.
350.
So while that's cooking, maybe we can make the cabbage.
Yeah,
Okay,
sounds great to
all
me.
right. So what do you want me to do?
I want you to cut the onion. Let's start off with cutting
Slice it or chop it?
the onion. Slice it.
Okay. Okay, about half an onion?
Yes, half an onion.
Okay, and you're gonna
And I'm going to do the peppers.
What's the name of this cabbage dish?
Southern fried cabbage.
Okay, so now we're gonna get these in the pan.
Correct.
Okay, so olive oil. Is that what you usually use?
Right.
Okay. And we're just gonna soften these, how much?
That's good. That's
Okay,
enough.
that's exactly what it needed to be, whatever the heck that is.
Yeah.
And so all of this goes in, right?
All of it goes in, right.
Okay. So we're gonna cover this?
We're going to cover it.
Okay, you know, it's funny, what we used to call that in cooking school is sweating it. We're gonna sweat
right.
them. All right.
Appropriate.
Okay, now
Right.
what are we gonna do with the cabbage? You're gonna show me.
We're going to shred the cabbage,
A whole head, huh?
the whole head.
So it's sort of like, I think that's about a half an inch.
Right.
I'm trying again to get this out of you. Because you're an intuitive cook.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
just-
let me just grab this
Yeah.
over here.
Nothing by the book. I'm a cook and not a chef.
Well, you know, Julia Childs said she was a cook and not a chef.
Yeah, I'm trained all by my grandma.
Yeah, but that's the best way.
Yeah.
All right, so now does this have to cook for a while before we add that, or that can go in now?
That can go in now.
Okay, so. All right. So this all really melts down,
It
doesn't
does.
it?
It does.
What else do we need to add? The ham?
We need to add the ham. So now we're going to add some red wine vinegar.
Okay, you're going to say when.
Okay.
The famous when.
All right.
The
Let me-
very
let
precise
me
when.
Keep my eye on you. All right, when.
Okay.
Then we're going to add some sugar, like 2
This is
teaspoons.
2 teaspoons.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, yes. And then we're going to do salt and pepper.
Okay, good.
All right, and
Now-
then we're gonna cover it.
So I'm gonna put the lid on, and then this is gonna cook down, you promised me.
I promise.
Okay, and how long is that gonna take?
About 10 minutes.
All right, so we can go check the chicken. Wow, I'm so excited. This has crust for days.
yes.
I'm just gonna have to pick it up. That's all there is to it, you know.
I bet it's good. Okay. I'm gonna just dig on into this cabbage.
Is that the self-rising flour that gives it that crust?
It's the self-rising flour and the milk.
Oh, Deborah!
How y'all doing?
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
So,
I come to join y'all too.
right, so while we've been cooking, you've been busy cooking. You do all the
Yes,
cooking for this place, don't you?
Oh, yes, ma'am, I sure do.
Oh, God. Well, I'm glad you're sitting down with us for a minute. Ladies, I just want to say thank you so much. And for you all out there, you got to come here to Charleston, South Carolina and go to Martha Lou's because this is the best fried chicken on the planet.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Whoa.
Thank you. So good.
Charleston, known for the reinvention of traditional Southern cuisine, has one of the hottest food scenes in America. But that style of cooking owes a huge debt to enslaved cooks and farmers. They were taken from West Africa to South Carolina because they had a valuable skill. They knew how to grow rice.
They call them Carolina Gold. That was the name of the rice, Carolina Gold. Charleston built up off of rice money, the sweat of the ancestors' back.
Storyteller Carolyn Jaboulet White's ancestors were slaves who settled on isolated coastal islands. The Gullahs, as they're called, had their own language.
But back in the days when I was a little girl, Madam would catch a chicken and wring them by neck, because we had what you call the yard chicken. Yard in Gullah means the yard.
I grew up on that, the yard chicken. And whatever was left, the gravy and whatever was left, my mother would make this rice.
Carolyn Jenkins is a legendary Gullah cook. Her rice is based on a style of eating she remembers from growing up Gullah on the South Carolina coast.
The one thing that I love about it is that you had everything at hand. We had a farm, we planted all our vegetables, we had chickens, we had pigs. They would go out fishing and crabbing and oyster.
The most important thing about Gullah food, I would think, is that it be fresh.
Fresh ingredients, that's the basic, because you cannot make a good shrimp dish with Indonesia shrimp.
Fresh food was abundant here by the sea. Steps away from Charlotte's house, I went crabbing with her nephew Tori and Gullah chef B.J. Dennis. So, this is Gullah country?
This is Gullah country, Sea Island culture.
Okay. And it goes for how far?
It goes from Wilmington, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida. But the low country of South Carolina is the heart and soul of Gullah Geechee culture and foodways.
And that's where we are.
That's where you are right now.
Okay, and this is where you used to go and get crab?
Yeah, you can go get crabs out here. My friend Tori is actually out here right now.
Oh.
Bringing his crab pot back in.
So you would just come out and forage?
I mean, that's how the culture was, lived off the land and off the sea. So crab, fish, oysters, everything was self-sufficient. That was the way of life.
Oh, wow,
yeah,
you got
beautiful.
some guys there.
You got some fatties in there.
Yeah, this is pretty good.
Wow, I mean, that's a good haul. I mean, of course, I'm not an expert. What do I know about crabbing? It looks good to me.
And he got some rusty ones too, which means they're nice and fat.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That color?
Yeah.
You always want them straight out of the water. And
Lively, like these guys.
right.
So you're gonna rush right home and cook these?
Oh yeah, fresher the better.
Yeah.
This land right here,
Yeah.
you know, people farm, they fish, they shrimp. A lot of it comes from West Africa, where, you know, you lived off the land. You know, it was a very agricultural place.
In fact, many crops originally from Africa, like watermelon, sesame seeds, and peanuts, became American favorites. They found their way to Southern cooking through African American cooks. Chef Joe Randall runs a Southern cooking school in Savannah and says ingredients like okra came over with the slaves.
I can't imagine any other way for them to get here. They were on the ship, maybe to feed the slaves. They brought what they could to feed them. The slaves were the ones in the kitchen doing the cooking, and they were familiar with the okra. Okra is a dish very prominent here in the South, primarily because it was a dish that was brought from Africa to the South.
Even barbecue was developed in the slave kitchen.
The slaves were restricted on the things they could eat. The master saved the pork loins for the pork chops for himself, but a pork shoulder might get left for them, and so they would smoke it low and slow. That method of slow roasting was done in Africa. It's similar to the way the Hawaiians use hot rocks and dig a hole and bury a whole hog.
So much of Southern and Low Country food traces back to African American traditions. B.J. Dennis thinks it's not well understood.
We've gotten away from a lot of the traditional values of how we came up. You know, the way my grandfather and his grandparents ate is kind of different than what we're seeing now. So it debunks the whole myth of Southern food being fried and greasy. And when you're raised in it, you really don't realize it until you step outside. And then you come back and say, wow, we do have a very, very special, unique culture.
So I get a lot of questions to my website, and one that pops up a lot has to do with chicken. So I'm going to address that today with Andrew from Manhattan. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, thanks.
So before we get started, so you live in Manhattan. What do you do?
I work for an antique store that's based here in London and sell wonderful 18th century antiques.
Okay, so tell me your question.
So my question is, I'm trying to make chicken Milanese, and every time I get the chicken breasts out and you start to pound the chicken to make it flat, it starts to come apart.
Yeah, it shreds.
And I'm wondering how, when you go to a great Italian restaurant where they have it there, it's not, in shreds.
Yes, this is true. Okay, I have an answer for you. So normally when you pound chicken, what they used to tell us, or they still tell us, is take 2 pieces of plastic wrap and put the chicken between the 2 pieces and pound it either with a meat pounder or with a rolling pin. So instead of using 2 pieces of saran wrap, I'm just going to use this, resealable bag. And something I learned years ago from a New Yorker article, it was in the late 70s, I was just 12, was that from a chef in Pennsylvania, is that if you put water in the bag or on the chicken doesn't stick to the plastic. And that's what makes it shred, is when it's sticking. So I've got a piece of fairly thin chicken. Try to get something that's thin to begin with, but for Milanese, it has to be quite thin. And then you just take I'm going to use a rolling pin here, and then you see the chicken's moving around. It's not sticking. Now this just takes a minute, so I'm just going to do that. And you can turn the bag around to get the different sides of the chicken. All right, well, you get the idea. I'm going to show you what it looks like. And for Milanese, you might want to start with a bigger piece of chicken because you want something that sort of fits on the plate. But you can see that it stayed together when it's laid on the counter very nicely. It's a little bit thinner here, but what's good about it is, especially because it didn't rip in the middle, when it cooks, it all comes back together. That's the great thing about protein. So try this little trick using the bag and the water, and then you won't have the ripping. So there you go.
Thank you very much.
Good. I see Milanese in your future.
I hope so.
So if you want to ask me a question for Ask Sarah, this nice little segment we do on my show, please email me at saramoulton.com.
Sunrise shining, you woke me up, big lick on my face. Out of the vein, in my head, time to start my day. Take me to the park, for a nice long walk. I'll come home, jump in your arms, be your puppy all the dog day long.
Red beans and rice is one of the signature dishes of New Orleans. That's why New Orleans' favorite son, Louis Armstrong, used to sign his letters, "Red beans and ricely yours." Now that virtually all of us everywhere can enjoy this classic combination, I didn't see why I couldn't turn it into a delicious soup. So I've browned some ham here, about 6 ounces when you chop it up, about 1 1/3 cups. We're gonna put two different kinds of pork in this. It's a meaty soup, a hearty soup. I've chopped up a large onion here. And it's about 2 cups after you chop it up. In Louisiana cooking, they have 3 favorite vegetables that are the base of everything. And it's called the Holy Trinity, and it's onions, celery, and peppers. You know, it's interesting because almost all cultures have a vegetable mix that they like to use. In France, of course, it's mirepoix, which is celery, onions, and carrots. In Spain and in Latin countries, they have something called a sofrito, which is, again, onions and oftentimes pepper and garlic and tomatoes. So it happens in every culture. I'm chopping up 4 stalks of celery, about 2 cups. You know, the thing about sautéing them first, as opposed to just adding them to broth in a pot, is they'll just pick up more flavor. We're bringing out some of the natural sugars. Now, my folks don't like green bell peppers. I don't know, they prefer red. You could do that. It wouldn't be very New Orleans, but that's okay. I like to chop my pepper this wasteful way, where you leave the core in the center. I'm using 1 large green bell pepper, and that gives me about 1 1/2 cups. All right, so in goes our green bell pepper. Put a tiny bit more oil in there. I can see that I didn't have quite enough to begin with. Oil is an important ingredient, not just so it doesn't stick or even for its flavor. It's a conductor of flavor. Anytime, a little tiny pinch of salt, just for the vegetables. You want to season as you go. I'm going to add the garlic in a minute, but first I want to get my Creole seasoning ready. Here we have some hot paprika, some kosher salt, garlic, black pepper, onion powder, cayenne, oregano, and thyme. I'm going to mix these all up now. I just wanted to show you what they were. And this is the kind of spice mix that they use at the famous Commander's Palace, that Paul Prudhomme used on his blackened fish, that Emerald puts into his essence, that many of the New Orleans chefs have their own little twist on this mix of spices. Okay. And herbs. There's spices and herbs in there. Here goes our garlic. And we're going to add a couple of teaspoons of the Creole mix. And we don't need to cook it for too long, but you do need to cook it a little bit just to sort of bring out, waken up all those dried spices. Anytime you cook with dried spices or herbs, you have to do that. All right, so now I'm going to cut up my andouille. It's a wonderful sausage from Louisiana. And I'm going to put my bay leaf in here too. But this is one of those ingredients it's very hard to find outside of Louisiana. So if you can't find it, a perfectly acceptable substitute, and it's actually what we're using today, would be kielbasa. But if you can find it, by all means, use it, and you'll be happy. All right. In goes our kielbasa in an andouille suit. All right, so here is our kidney beans, and we've drained them and rinsed them, get that goop off that they have in their can. And then we're just gonna add 2 cans. And here is our 6 cups of stock. We're gonna put back in the ham too. There we go. All right, so we're gonna bring this up to a boil and simmer it for about 15 minutes. And then we're gonna finish it off with the rice. Okay, great way to use up leftover rice for this soup. You can get both white and brown rice these days at when you order sushi or Chinese food. So we're going to just add some of this so it's cooked. You could also cook your own, and all we need to do is just heat it because that rice was cooked. So there we go. Very, very hearty. The husband loves this soup. Got a nice green salad to go with it. Okay. I'm going to just put some chopped chives on top because I have them from my garden. You could certainly use some sliced scallions if you wanted to. All right. There it is, red beans and rice soup. I'm sure this is going to become one of your favorites.
I loved making these southern dishes and learning more about Charleston's style of cooking today. Because when you dive down into the roots of southern food, you discover everyday traditional food isn't ordinary at all. In the hands of these incredible chefs, it really is extraordinary. Visit us online at saramoulton.com/weeknightmeals and on our YouTube channel. Sara's Weeknight Meals is made possible by USA Rice, Sunsweet, Ninja, Chef's Choice,
and thanks to the generous support of
the 2016 Subaru Legacy. With symmetrical all-wheel drive plus 36 mpg. It pairs well with every kind of road. Subaru, proud sponsor of Sara's Weeknight Meals.